Hello, welcome back to the No Ratings podcast. I've said for a while our philosophy is we don't intro podcasts. I'm saying philosophy like I'm a football manager, bro. It's a flipping intro. I don't know whether people care that much or not, but essentially I just want to say thank you because you guys have supported all the content we've been splashing out in 2024 and basically allowed us to carry on doing this in 2025. For full transparency, the podcast is like no one here is getting paid to do this, although one day they may, and that is the ambition. But these guys are hopping on, like taking time out because we believe that we're working on something that people want to see. So obviously support the channel, support these guys. And now let's talk about darts. Because podcast.
Click-throughs go.
Yeah. Look at what a lovely guy. Subscribe. Darts, unsubscribe. Luke Littler fever. Obviously, everyone's going mad about Luke Littler. He's 17 years old. Check his passport. I don't. Okay, maybe I'm being a hater, but does anyone else in this conversation think Luke Littler might not be 17?
You don't look 17. Let's be real.
Yeah, but when you've been drinking beers from the age of 14 and having pies from 12,
Yeah,
like
nature
this
versus
kid
nurture, innit? That's what.
half paper round. That's what it
Yeah.
looks like. So
Yeah.
maybe he is. Maybe he is.
I hear it, man. Maybe I'm just hating because like people keep telling me I look like I'm 40. Maybe I'm just hating. But the question I have is, obviously, this has now like created a surge for people watching darts. Like, actually, genuinely, I tweeted something from the Pods account, and James DM'd me saying, "Bad idea tweeting this during a darts final." I was like, I didn't even know there was a darts final. Like, since when was that a thing? Since when were people going, "Don't do that during a darts final"? But obviously, he's got loads of people interested in darts. Was there a person or an athlete that got you interested in a sport? And I know, Dev, you've got the most spookiest sport that I know.
No. James, back me up. It's not the most spooky sport. I won't say what a sport is, just to build up, watch out.
We've all agreed it's a good sport. So Nubaid has backed himself into a corner here.
Bro, it's one of the hardest sports in the world.
Like, all right, let's hear it.
The sport is snooker, right? Love a bit of the balls. Never gonna say that again. But it's snooker, and it's so I've always allow it, Pipe. Allow it. We're just gonna let's move forward. But it's kind of so I've always Nubaid, professional show. Nubaid.
You sent it to the stars with that one.
Professional show. I'm gonna just keep talking. So I've always kind of liked snooker, right? That's what we're gonna call it now. I've always liked snooker, but there was a bit of a lull between watching it, and I think there was a period where O'Sullivan left, and then Hendry had obviously fallen off and things, and then Stephen Hendry has a YouTube channel, and that got me started watching it again. But it just so happened to coincide with Si Zhaohui in I think it was the 2022 or 23. The World Championship where he got to the semi-finals, and there was talk about him being like the youngest finalist or the youngest player to ever win at the Crucible in the World Championship. I think he just lost to Brissell or Selby, I can't remember. It was a Brissell-Selby final, and then Brissell himself was like 24 when he won or something. So those two for me, man. Snooker's a sport, Nubaid. I don't care.
Just staying on snooker, I'm showing my age here because listening to you, Dev, I'm like, bloody hell. The players that got me into snooker were Henry and O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan was 17 in 1993 when he debuted with the UK Championship. And I was about 4 or 5. And then my dad was a snooker fan. So watching O'Sullivan come into that game got me into snooker. So yeah, I'm showing my age here. So
do you know something in snooker that Nubaid and a lot of casuals might not know, but one of the most iconic sporting moments. Hear me out.
I know what you're going to say, I think.
In snooker, the highest break you can get, as in the pinnacle of snooker, is getting a 147. I'm sure everyone's heard of doing a nine darter, doing a hole in one. Ronnie O'Sullivan was mid break, so he's knocking all the balls in, and he turns around to the to the ref. Do you call it in snooker?
No, it is ref.
The umpire.
Ref.
We'll call him the ref.
Yeah.
And he turns around to the ref and says, "What's the prize money for hitting a maximum?" That's like Tiger Woods turning around and going, "What's the prize money for a hole in one?" That's like Michael Van Gogh in mid-9 darts saying, "How much do I get for this?" And instead of hitting the 147, he deliberately hit a 146. As in, he potted a pink instead of a black because he said, "Nah, that's disrespectful. You can't pay me 30 grand for doing a 147, doing the highest pinnacle of sport." That is, and I'm telling you, one of the greatest sporting moments.
Elite.
And,
Wait, before we move on, James, just because you said that, can we all agree that when it comes to sporting achievements, you talk about 9 darters, hole in ones, the 147 in snooker is the hardest thing to do in any individual sport. I know it's not physically the hardest, but to actually do that, to get the technique,
I don't know,
it's impossible.
but we cannot discuss this because it has been discussed on every single podcast ever.
I would say yes.
Every year.
Having played all those sports, I would say yes, purely because I've got a hole in one, and it was like, it's a
Yeah, anyone can do it. Anyone can get a hole in one.
Yeah, mini golf. Mini golf.
a 147. You can't just fluke it. There's no way you can fluke it because there's so many shots that go into it, and your positional play has to be so perfect, ball after ball. It's like the technical skill needed for it. And I don't think people appreciate how big a snooker table is. Like a pool table, anyone can kind of play on it if you got good cue action, whatever. But snooker table, like the distances to the ball and stuff, is massive. Like to get
this is a big thing. You'll get someone who thinks they're all right at pool, and then they go to a snooker table. They're like, "What the fuck? It's 3 times Nubaid. It's 3 times the size."
Hold on, I know you keep saying debate, James. I'm going to surprise you here. When I said bookie is sport, I meant is bookie for the listener that we're going to go from darts to snooker. I've played pool. I've played pool for years, and I've played snooker as well, so I know all the rules. And Ronnie O'Sullivan. Brother, you underestimate my age.
You said that. That's
my boy. That's my
Ronnie O'Sullivan.
I don't know if you guys remember the concert. Pythag might, but it used to be a guy with, I don't know what accent that was, to be honest. I think it's a Scottish accent. But whenever he used to say Ronnie O'Sullivan, he used to say it in that accent. It's just like ingrained in my head to not ever be able to say the L's. So whenever I say his name, that's exactly how I say it. Anyway, James, carry on.
It might be Ken Doherty on commentary, to be fair. It might be the Irish accent, I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Yeah, it might be, to be fair.
To all the casuals out there, a snooker table will humble you more than anything.
The pockets.
I was very, very good at pool, and then I went to a snooker table. I was like, wow, this is a whole new world. Anyway, for those who are still listening,
no rating snooker tournament
we'll bring this back to something mainstream. This sounds ridiculous because 100 meters is like the pinnacle of sport anyway. But in this conversation, we have to talk about Usain Bolt bringing not even just 100 meters, bringing actually the Olympics to the masses. He was the face of the Olympics for about 12 years, in that you would have people who knew nothing about any other sport, but then they'd be doing this. They'd be doing, Usain Bolt, some cold guy. So I want to shout Usain Bolt. And the other person that I wanted to think of, actually, I don't watch much cricket. I know some people in here are cricket fans. But Sachin, no, I'm joking. Ben Stokes during that, I can't remember what year it was, 20 something, when he did the World Cup 18, and the Ashes in the same year. I think that's what I was going to say, but
World Cup was 2019, I think.
It was just before COVID. I don't know if it was 18 or 19, but it was just before COVID.
I believe, and either way, was it the same summer, the World Cup and the Ashes, when Ben Stokes just went nuts? He won with the final ball against New Zealand. Yeah,
I was at that final. I think that was 2018, but it was one of 2018 or 19. But yeah,
really that long ago?
Yeah, it was time ago. You know, actually, like by the Usain Bolt thing, my guy, that the player, and I don't even still watch the sports fair, but it's Tiger Woods. Like in terms of like getting loads of people through the door to watch a sport, which is why, like, you know, when people say like Luke Littler will have the same impact, I don't know if they mean in terms of just generally or in terms of proportion, because there's no way he can achieve Tiger Woods numbers. Like,
no.
Like Tiger Woods is literally, I think I would say 70% of people that watch Tiger Woods or watched golf post Tiger Woods was because of Tiger Woods.
He was golf. Like that's the thing. Like certain people just are their sports. I was going more down the youth route, which is why I said Joao QE and why I said Brissell. But Ronnie O'Sullivan, like he's in the list as being one of the greatest sportsmen of all time, perhaps even the best British sportsman of all time because of what he's achieved. So yeah, if you're talking snooker, I would say Ronnie. Like you can't. He basically, if the TV's on, snooker's on, and it's Ronnie, I'm watching for however long.
Locked in.
Yeah.
Straight away. He's
my question about Tiger Woods, by the way, because I know obviously he left the sport for a while. When he came back, how good was he? Because I don't follow golf at all.
What do you mean when he came back? Because he came back
from
a
number of
comebacks.
Did it a lot. He came back the first time he came back with his back injury.
I don't mean from a back injury.
He means after the scandal.
Yeah.
Which I have my thoughts on, by the way, but we're not going to go into that.
This could go so left. This could go so left, so easy.
Sponsors.
I'm not sure. I feel off the top of my head, he did come back and I don't know if he won a major, but he did.
He won the green jacket. I think he won the Masters when he came back.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, James, for you, obviously not understanding this, green jacket business.
It's like the Champions League, mate.
Nah, it's like the World Cup. It's like the World Cup. Like there's nothing bigger than it in golf, and he's won it. I want to say like second most times.
How long was he out for?
You'll have to Google that, but time. Because then basically he came back from that scandal. I think he won the green jacket. Then he had that car accident, if you remember, Pyfag and Dev. And then he came back from that, and ever since then he's dusted now because his obviously body doesn't work. But obviously the golf people are like desperate for him to carry on. Anyway, it's 10 minutes of this podcast, and we haven't even spoken a minute about football. And I just know if James was saying at the start, the watch time just died when I mentioned darts. Since then, we've gone to snooker, we've gone to golf. Probably the two least football related sports in the world. The moment I mention the word rugby now, everyone's switching off. So we're not going there. Dead sport, by the way. Dead sport. Really? Oh, actually, one more question about Luke Littler very quickly. I don't know who tweeted this, but someone said Luke Littler is the most talented or most gifted, or no, sorry, the greatest 17-year-old in any sport we've ever seen.
Pele,
man.
Definitely. What are we doing? What are we actually? Cassius Clay, aka Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, fair.
Wayne Rooney at that. Like people.
I tweeted that but said Englishman. No. Littler, relative to his sport, is definitely better than Rooney was.
I agree. Because it's about ruling your sport. Ruling your sport, right? So he's gone to the pinnacle of his profession at the age of 17. Pele is a good answer because he scored goals in a World Cup final, not just any goals. If you look back at the goals, they're absolutely insane goals in a World Cup final as a 17-year-old, and he scored in the semi-finals leading up to it to take Brazil to their first World Cup. So I would definitely put Pele, I think, number one.
Can we also say to do this at a solo sport is unbelievable because for football, you're platformed by 10 other players. If you have an off day, you're not going to get killed for it. If Pele was in the quarterfinals and didn't score, he'd get away with it. Luke Littler had to perform every single week. He was the favourite as well, which is ridiculous, and was performing at this level. So from a psychological level, nuts.
Anyway. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think he's an industry plant. But anyway, let's talk about something else.
I was just going to say Nadal as well. Nadal was pretty young when he was already
true
tennis, like to compete against Federer so quickly into his career was insane, considering Federer
also I think Nadal came up when Andre Agassi was still about, and there's a lot of good players at that time. It wasn't just Federer, whereas I don't know darts like that, but I'm pretty sure, what's the ball guy's name who we played against? Van Gerwen.
Gerwen is considered the best of his generation. Obviously he's probably second in terms of the all-time based on players darts championship. Because obviously Phil Taylor's got 16 championships, whereas he's just got 4. But that's a big gap.
Wow, that's mental. That's like Man U and Man City 5 years ago. Anyway, if you're still here, honestly, we love you so much. But I reckon now it's just us 4 talking to each other for no reason because nobody's listening anymore. Let's talk about Liverpool against Manchester United. And this is why on YouTube, if you're watching, or even on Spotify now, we have that time thing where you can skip through the bits you don't want to listen to. Kills the watch time, don't recommend it. But if you don't want to hear about darts and snooker, I'm going to put some really cryptic title over that so you can't skip over it. So you have to listen to it. But let's talk about United and Liverpool. And Dev, I'm going to come to you first because I've had you on. To be fair, actually, most of the time when I get people on, it's because their team's lost. And you've been on a lot when Manchester United have lost. So I will give the floor to you today, my brother.
Well, to be fair, you said, you invited me on before, the game even took place. So I was just kind of assuming that we were going to lose. But I'll be honest,
So was I.
Yeah, I'm very surprised. But I'm very pleasantly surprised at how certain shifts have been made. So there's always that you get a result, papers over the cracks and that kind of thing. I'm actually, it sounds stupid, but I'm kind of glad that there was no new manager bounce, no papering over the cracks with Amorim. It's here's the issues. Now let's deal with it. And if we start turning a corner, actually, it might be a decent corner. And what I sort of know from these last few games is that, you beat City in the derby away, and then we draw against you. Could have easily gone on to win it. And Maguire, Xerxes was offside, so even if Maguire scored it, I don't think.
I don't blame Maguire for that, by the way. Sorry to interrupt, but I don't think that was Maguire's fault. I don't want to dig out Xerxes because I've said words about him before in the past, but I thought it was a really poor pass. If he was onside, he just needed to roll it across, and he's really bobbled it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I agree, but pro player. get it in the back of the net. I agree with what you're saying, but like I was saying, I think it was kind of I was at a point where I just kind of resigned myself to a loss. I was staring at the weather app thinking, oh, it's snowy. We shouldn't be having this game. It's going to be icy. Like, how big is it? Oh, 3 feet. Lisandro's going to have trouble. Like, do you know what I mean? It wasn't the kind of game that I was looking forward to. But most importantly is that I've seen good and bad, a mentality shift in the players where smaller games or lesser games where they're not up for it, you kind of see them revert back to their old habits. So today, I'm there seeing, even though it's Trent and he might not be the best defender, I'm seeing Dalot take on Trent from the left side. That's the first time I've seen him take on anyone in the left side for about 5 or 6 games, and he did it consistently. And probably should have got a goal with Ahmad, where he just overran the ball. But it was nice to see certain players who have had tough seasons actually come out on top. So Mainu, I thought, was really strong. Lisandro Martinez had a good game, great goal, cracking goal, but he had a pretty solid game. But for me, the one player that won't get talked about enough,
I know what you're gonna say, man. This guy loves him.
Is going to be Manuel Ugarte. Like this boy,
he loves him.
This guy, I've said, do you know what? I said for ages, for Pythag, I don't know if you agree with this, but I've always said Man United have craved a midfielder like him for the past 10 years. But then if we get the profile, they're either too old or too expensive or both. Matic, Casemiro, obviously. This guy is 23 years old. He turns 24 in April. And he's already come in from people saying, oh, PSG didn't want you. So how's that turned out? He's turned out to be one of the better players in his position in the league for like 37 to 40 million pound, obviously with add-ons and stuff. That, for a player in that position at 23, 24 years old, already a mainstay for his country, already got some experience under this manager we just brought in, is a star. And the reason I'm really happy that he played well today is because he was getting a bit of stick after getting suspended for the Newcastle game, and we saw how much we missed him. So today, to actually hold your head, I think he did get booked in the end, was to actually kind of hold your head and not boss the midfield, because that's not the type of player he is, but to make sure that Gravenberch, Curtis Jones was completely like anonymous in that game, but to make sure that your runners didn't have any joy. Like for Liverpool runners not to have any joy at Anfield, especially when you guys went 2-1 up, I thought that's that. And you would have gone 3-1 up had it not been for Ugarte multiple times. So he was sensational for me. So overall, man, it's a good result and it's a really positive one to take. And I think Ruben Amorim in his post-match kept saying how angry he was at the other games. That just makes me think how this manager, with his tactics, I don't really understand. I'm not a big tactician, but I could see what he's trying to do. He knows what players they need. He knows how to be successful, but he also doesn't rest on his laurels with anything. Said it after the derby, said it after Everton, now saying it after Liverpool. So it looks like we got a good one. So yeah, it was a good, really nice result. And
James was ready to drop a bomb by the
way. No. I'm gonna let Pythag speak next, but please don't speak about the player I want to speak about. I wanted to hear Pythag's thoughts on Ugarte this is derogatory, but as a tactico.
Yeah.
Because he is the sort of player that kind of goes against a lot of tactics. He's a professional shin kicker. But I think no, Dev, calm down, because I am a shin kicker. That is what I made my career
in midfield than James
out of 18 years. So I play a little bit like Ugarte. I think there's a lot of time for a player like that, as long as you can progress the ball in other ways. And Amorim's system doesn't require Ugarte to be that lone ball playing 6. Ten Hag did. So from a tactical perspective, Pythag, what do you think of Ugarte?
You've already touched upon it. So obviously we did a full video on Ugarte on YouTube. If anything, we got criticized because we rated Ugarte so highly. This was prior to United. So we did the video when he joined Sporting Lisbon to PSG. In the video, I specifically stated, if you use this guy as a pure CDM, like a number 6, he's going to struggle, because when he receives the ball back to goal, like he's facing his defense, he's not got great awareness behind him. So if you put the press on him, he loses the ball. Also, in terms of his positional awareness as a single defensive midfielder like a Makelele, he's not the best. Like he loses runners and things like that. However, he is like a Kante star player, where if he's facing the opposite goal and you're just telling him, be my bulldog, there's that guy, hunt him. He's amazing, right? Because he's got so much energy, so much dynamism. He gets like 10, I think he had the highest statistic for tackles made per game when he was at Lisbon in Europe. So we're talking the average midfielder, when I'm reviewing players, it's like 8 tackles per game, right? This guy was on 14 Declan Rice was on 10.
Jeez.
So this guy was like insane numbers, like world record type numbers, right? So when he went to PSG, what do they go and do? They use him as a number 6. He looked clueless, like he had no idea what he was doing, because obviously I think they'd sold Verratti. They've brought this guy in and they're expecting him to play like Verratti. Bro, he's nothing like Verratti, right? He's not someone who's going to put his foot on the ball. You can't do none of that stuff. Now, when Amorim came, I was like, thank God, because I know that this guy's system suits Ugarte. Plus, he's played with him, so he's going to know what his strengths are. Because United play with this sort of boxing midfield where it's a free, I've forgotten the formation, 3-4-2-1, and you've got the box in midfield. These two double pivot midfielders, none of them's a 6. So everything's about pressing really high. And then when you do get on the ball, it's all about quick, fast stuff with the ball. There's no like dictating the tempo. And you saw today, because it's away at Anfield, he's not having to be on the ball for long periods of time, but everything was short, sharp. And when he was being pressed, because he's facing opposition goal, he's comfortable because he can see who's coming at me, and then he can wriggle in. His footwork was actually really good in this game. Whereas if that was him picking the ball up with his back to goal, it's different. And people that played in midfield, it's different depending on which angle you're receiving the ball. That's why 6, 8, 10, whether you're playing the left pivot, right pivot, double, all this stuff makes a difference. And some players need to play at a certain angle. Me, myself, for example, I loved playing in a double pivot because I liked playing off the left so that I can open my body up and receive it. I remember one game I played as a single pivot. I was like, what the heck is this? Because I'm having to be the right side, left side. I'm having to be... I struggled, I'll be honest with you. So even as a tactical, like someone that's played in midfield, I have to play in a double pivot in a 4-2-3-1. That's when I feel comfortable. When I'm playing as a single pivot, it's really hard for me. So
Well,
at the pro level, these margins make a huge difference. So that's why Ugarte, I think, will thrive under Amorim.
This is where you need your Nabeed Haroun, Steven Gerrard character next to you. You can do everything.
Well, me and James probably be a bad boy midfielder. I don't know where Dev is a number.
We actually played together, to be fair.
Yeah, that's
really?
Well, do you agree?
Oh, you mean with Gerrard? I thought you meant you with Pythag. Sorry.
Yeah,
no, I meant me and you freak.
Do you know what's interesting as well? Because like I said, I'm not much of a tactico, but I saw a noticeable change, like in the way that the players interchange their positions. You don't usually see that with United. Like one thing that I've noticed is United, there's a selfishness amongst these players. Like either some really want it or some don't want it as much. But either way, they're kind of concerned with their job and no one else's, and that's always been a massive issue. But then Bruno today, I thought was a proper captain's before. He just felt like he was on it today. He just wanted to really, really get at you, and I'm glad he did. But I saw when Dallo would move forward, automatically Lisandro shifted. I saw when Ugarte vacated his position, then you see Højlund drop deep at times, and in Xerxes did it for a little bit towards the end. And the back three or back five, whatever you want to call it, in transition, I just thought it was really solid. But I thought that it was a case of we'd had 7 days to train, they're getting used to stuff and all this. But Ruben Amorim has come out, and obviously it's PR, and he has to say certain things, but what was interesting is he himself said that it was more about belief and more about the mind than anything else, and these players are insecure, like you would be. You're 3 managers in a season with a lot of change going around upstairs everywhere, like you're going to be insecure about everything. And when you just seen what happened to Xerxes on Monday, which was despicable, whoever was involved, I hang your heads, but you're seeing all that happen to your players. You're going to be very insecure, and the worst place to go when you're insecure is Anfield. And so to have Ugarte do what he did and all these players, it was really good to see.
I think where I agree that it could be the worst place to go, it can also so easily be the best place to go. And so like in this environment and in this game, when the pendulum was in your favor, suddenly like these guys, and like you just said yourself, like some of these guys are quite selfish. Suddenly some of these guys are going like, oh, this could be my day. Like this could be my game. I think Slot actually said post-match that like this was a really good scenario for Manchester United players because they want to prove something that they won't want to do against Wolves and Southampton, which is like, it's classic. Like, when you see like Liam Delap will turn up at Man City or at Anfield and put on a show like Anthony Robertson did for Fulham. But then today he stunk the gaff out against Ipswich, but nobody's watching that game. Everyone's watching the one at Anfield. Also for him.
So regardless, Nubaid, there's no pressure on them today.
Yeah.
No one expected anything from United. You invited Dev on expecting to rinse him today. But in the end, United, and you could kind of see that there was no pressure because they were taking risks that they wouldn't usually take. And I will speak about the boy. I won't say my boy because he's not, but I was very impressed with Bruno Fernandes today. The last game when he got sent off, I tweeted, I really ripped into him. I said basically, that was absolutely awful behavior from a captain. The way he just stuck his leg out and tripped someone up, got sent off. I thought it was pathetic of him. I thought it's not what you want from your captain. It's not leading by example. Today, he was completely the opposite. He led by example. I thought he was the best player on the pitch. He was the best player in midfield, most certainly. And that's a very strong Liverpool midfield. And it's a weird one because he gets days where he's petulant and whining at the refs. And then he gets days like today. So I still don't know if he's captain material, but today you can see
he still did some
why
random
he is.
stuff. Though. He still did some.
I'm still raging at the moment because I'm more madder than Amorim, and partly mad at Amorim as well a little bit because Bruno Fernandes for me is not captain material. Because for me, a leader is someone when you're in the toughest times, they stand up and be counted, and they also help the emotional level and the IQ of the whole squad. That's what your purpose is as a leader. And we've seen too many times with Bruno Fernandes where when the things are going good, then he starts becoming a real captain and like says all the right things, does this, does that. And then when everything's going to shit, he's nowhere to be seen. If anything, he's the one that's flipping swimming in the shit. So for me,
who would you have made captain?
So I would have made someone like captain. To be honest with you, now in retrospect, probably not a great choice. It would have been someone like Lisandro Martinez historically, because I thought he's someone who, prior to this recent spell of form that we've been seeing, he was someone who was really standing up tall in games. He was, being physically aggressive, blah blah blah.
And allow it, James. Let him land. Let him land.
And now you look,
wrong choice of words.
That was awesome.
And he's standing up tall in games.
Let him land.
Well, now he can't even stand up tall for a header in any game. So, I've ripped him in a recent game as well. But so for me, I'm not saying there's any. Well, I think Amorim said it himself. He said we've got no leaders in this squad, and I would probably agree with him. I don't look at that team and I think there's any natural leaders within that team. And I think just touching on Dev's point, because obviously Dev, you mentioned this performance was obviously we loved it, blah blah blah. Of course, I loved it as well, and I want Amorim to really do well. But one of the tactical issues we've got is that Liverpool coming onto us is a big game, right? So in this game, for example, Dalot at left wing back, it worked for us because Trent is out of position. There's no one really covering that space. So Dalot, what is he? He's an athlete. He's someone who's got long legs. If he can just run down the line with speed, not really use his brain much, just needs to literally run in a straight line, that works for him, right? Now, if we're up against a smaller team where they're in a 2 blocks of 4, etc. Now, if Dalot's your main outlet down that left, there's no support there. What's he going to do? How's he going to square up his man? How intricate is he going to be with his link-up play? Can he do what, for example, Saka can do on the right for an Arsenal when he's fit, for example?
But you also saw like bits, like it's a completely fair point. I completely agree because I'm not convinced of any of our left wing backs. As much as I like Mazraoui, he's not. I don't think he's a wing back because he's not penetrating the space he needs to. Yeah, exactly. But I think what's really like annoyed me, and it made me happy about this game, annoyed me about the others, is De Ligt obviously had a tough game, and it probably his toughest game so far because he's been okay otherwise, but he's there jumping into tackles and actually winning quite a few. Maguire's doing the same thing. Yoro, word on him by the way, to do that
I love Yoro.
A last minute, last ditch tackle in the box in front of the cop with 3 minutes. Stupid. Either it's youthful stupidity or it's like class. It worked, but he is going to be someone we build around and stuff. But seeing that, I want to see that more. I don't care if you're doing it to a Darwin Nunez against Liverpool or a Raul Jimenez against Fulham. Do it like that. I want this game to be, even if we didn't get the result, fine. Like we're not fine, but you know what I mean. I want to build off of what I can see elsewhere, and I'm there thinking, okay, there's so much in there, the tenacity, the drive, and the togetherness. Those are the things we should be building on, not a bunch of results and what got us there. That should be the foundation.
But
we
Dev,
lost
do you
that
not
foundation
think that when we
need it back?
Dev, do you not think when we under Ten Hag we had good performances in these big games, and then we would do the same thing where you go into a smaller game, we try to use the same, for example, tactics, and then we suddenly realize it's not working, and then we lose our heads, and then suddenly the passing goes out of the window, then the tenacity follows, and then we just look like a mess again. So that's why I hope United fans don't get too carried away with this, because I like Amorim, and I think he's got the right head on his shoulders. I like how he's talking, but he's going to get more mad because I don't think this performance we've seen is going to be able to be replicated again and again, because he's going to see that there's certain tactical aspects which are going to be problematic. There's also some psychological aspects where these players love to raise their game against certain opponents. I mean, we saw against Man City, we were fantastic against Man City, right?
Yeah.
What I do like, though, that shouldn't be taken away, is we under, let's say, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Ten Hag, when we played good in these big games, the tactics looked almost like agricultural, but they were
Yeah.
working, right? This looks sophisticated. Like against Man City, we did look sophisticated. I think today against Liverpool, we looked sophisticated. So that to me tells me that Amorim's got a higher football mind than what we've been associated with.
Yeah.
So that gives me comfort of mind because I'm thinking longer term picture. I'm like, you know what? Hopefully this guy is a good one because I don't really care about this season. It's a write off for me.
Yeah.
But what I'm looking for is clues from the manager, and he's giving me positive vibes, which is why I'm actually like emotionally quite into it at the moment.
Yeah.
I would say, like, looking from the outside, I said this when he first came in, the feeling was just different. And like me and James are massive on psychology. Like that feeling, if you don't have that for a manager, like collectively, this is what I mean collectively, like Ten Hag's feeling died so fast, and it wasn't to do with results. It was just the way he spoke about things. I think that's a massive thing. We're going to talk more about United during the season. I don't want to like keep that. I'm sure United next week might not have the result you want, to maybe back here again. I wanted to very quickly ask my psychological friend, what do Liverpool do with Trent here? Because basically, a lot of Liverpool fans are saying, is it worth like fighting to keep him and keep playing him in this scenario? Because he didn't play very well today. And I don't want to harp on about the performance because everyone's doing that anyway. But is it easier to just go, look, Conor Bradley's going to play until the point where Trent's contract situation is either resolved or not? Like it has to get to a point where either he's leaving or he's staying, and then he's back in the side. Because this was the first time I personally felt like he was struggling to get up to speed or in the mood for the game.
I guess that's very hard to speak from the outside looking in because players do have off games. He might have just had an off game. This is the first game that I've seen him against West Ham. Was that your last game?
Yeah.
He scored, and I thought he had a pretty decent game. There was no problem
fine
with that. So if you then all of a sudden send him out, cast him away, and then you've got Conor Bradley as your right back, and then Trent says, all right, if they're going to mess me around, I'll go to Madrid now. I'm going to force my way out. Now you're in a title race already without one of your best players for 6 months. And you've got Conor Bradley, who's definitely a serviceable footballer, but he's no Trent. And if Conor Bradley gets injured because he's not going to be able to play every game, then you've got Joe Gomez playing there, Kwanzaa playing there. So it is a delicate situation, and only Slot knows how it's affecting the dressing room because Van Dijk looked pissed off today. I've never seen him give those eyes. He has eyes that could kill someone. So again, it's very hard to know because if he is a net negative, not just on himself, but on the whole team, then that's another question. But it's a huge risk to ostracize him and say, out you go. And then because if that's where he's going to go, if he's going to Real Madrid at the end of his contract, then he'll say, all right, accelerate this. He's not going to be messed around by Liverpool. And he not necessarily has an ego, but he's confident enough in himself that he'll say, you know what, I don't want Liverpool to mess me around. And it would be such a sour note to end things on if after all of this with Trent, he gets forced out of the club because of a few bad games. So my perspective is keep playing him. You got to have conversations with him and ask him where he's head at. And Slot has to understand that himself. From what I hear, he's a very good, he's very good mentally as a manager, not just from a tactical perspective, which is interesting. And I think one of the reasons you're doing well. But he needs to speak to Trent, gauge where he's at, and if Trent's head's gone, then and he really doesn't think Trent can contribute for the rest of the season, then fair enough. But I don't see why, even if Trent did agree a pre-contract, I don't see why Trent wouldn't give his all for Liverpool for the rest of the season because he's got nothing to lose.
I think that like today's situation was interesting because part of me thinks he didn't sub Trent because he knows how much noise it would have caused. So I think he held on until Trent got the yellow, and then that gave him an easy out because at no point was Bradley even warming up until Trent got the yellow. So I think he's now in a situation where like you've got a guy who might potentially be going to Madrid. We don't know. Like I still think there's so much hearsay on the internet. People seem to think they know everything that's happening. I still think tomorrow he could sign a new deal. And then all these Liverpool fans that for the last 4 weeks have been saying he actually can't defend, he's actually not that good, will suddenly go, he's the best thing ever. And I cannot stand that, because he's still a Liverpool player. And I also think, and this, like, Liverpool fans is unpopular, so I'm keen to hear what you guys think. If he wants to go to Madrid and goes, I am actually fine with it. He's 26 years of age. He's given the club 10 years of his life. He's delivered trophies for this club. He's really close to the assist record, yada, yada, yada. He's a young man who backs his skill set. Let him go and try and be the best in the world.
I think the frustration is him going for free, isn't it? Because you're losing a £100 million asset for free. So people would say, if you love the club, you do it like a Jude Bellingham and get a lot of money for the club. But it's not that simple at all. You know better than I. It's not as simple as just Trent goes, all right, Madrid, can you just chuck Liverpool 100 mil? Then I'll come your way. They'll go, no, we'll just get the next best guy, because it's Madrid. They don't fuck around.
Yeah, I would just say, like, I couldn't care less. I mean, I hope he goes, frankly. Like, I couldn't care less. But I think, like, I just like, obviously we got a fee, but when Ronaldo went to Real Madrid, the only one that really hurt me was when Rude went to Real Madrid, because I loved him that much. But even looking back, I can understand why he did it. And Ronaldo, it's kind of, like you say, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. If Trent has his ear bent and he absolutely wants to go to Real Madrid, then there's nothing you can do. Once your player's head's turned, it's like, it's going to be a struggle to get them back on side. But also, like, the fans turn. I just don't like fans turning on your own players at all, and especially ones that actually have delivered for you. Like, I had a bee in my bonnet about people turning on Xerxes, even though he hasn't been playing well, because I don't think you should do that, and I still don't think you should ever do that. But I agree with you. Some of the stuff I've seen, like the discourse around Trent, I'm like, this guy is one of the most talented players in the world, one of the most talented players you've ever produced, and he's a Liverpool boy and he's given everything. It's like, let him go and get the most out of his career at Real Madrid, because that's where Real Madrid's the pinnacle of everything. I know you don't want him to go, but
question for you all: do you think he will get higher ratings at Real Madrid than he does at Liverpool in terms of the interesting why?
No, Real Madrid fans, like, I know this because of Ronaldo, Rude, Bex, and also, like, a load of my friends are Real Madrid fans. Like, there's a level of, United have had it, and we've been humbled a lot lately. But there was a period after Sir Alex where there was, and some still aren't getting it, where they're so linked to the victories of the past that no matter what anyone does here, or even how far we sink, whatever goes wrong, because you're not living up to that, people hate you. And Real Madrid, when I'm talking about booing your own players, that is a thing in Spanish football and in Spanish culture. It's a lot more visceral and a lot.
Well, Gareth Bale got it the most. What I meant was, sorry, the question was, do you think he'll be rated more in, like, Ballon d'Or rankings in world accolades?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Also,
the popularity contest, the Ballon d'Or, isn't it? Like, and to be at Real Madrid, you're in. I know Vinny didn't get it over Rodri, but look how that turned out. Everyone was up in arms. So yeah, and to be honest, like, as much as I hate to admit it, the Ballon d'Or, it's lost a lot over the last few years. And with basically align yourself with someone like Perez, who has that much sway and that much, like, control over football, then you're probably more likely to get more votes than not. Like, that's about as diplomatic as I can say. Like, yes, is the answer. I think it'll get more ratings.
What I would say is that Liverpool, because he's like a main pillar of the Liverpool team, tactically, they've always done a lot to try and get the best out of him. He's had a lot of protection. I don't know if he'll get the same level of protection at Real Madrid. Because he's not going to be seen as like, this is a new, amazing, key player of the team that we really need to protect. He's not going to get that protection. He's going to be expected to do his job.
You know what, Pyfag, amazing point. Madrid is single swim. Like, it's up to you. So if you're not good enough, you're not good. People look back at Michael Owen and say he flopped at Madrid. Look back again, he didn't. But people will say that. And it's a hard, harsh place. And Bellingham, like, even this season, they've been chatting about Bellingham because they weren't top of the league for so long. So like, it's very fickle.
And he plays right centre back for them. Is it Rudiger?
Rudiger and Militao. And Militao.
Is he injured still?
No, he's come back from his injury, but he hasn't been the same player. He hasn't been the same player.
But this is where I agree with you all that, like, going to Madrid is like potential career suicide, because if he goes to Madrid and flops, Liverpool will never have him back. Like, Liverpool fans will not ever want him back. So then where does he go? And then obviously when you go to the pinnacle of football, the only way is down.
Yeah.
So then he goes to wherever else and his legacy gets tarnished. But what I personally like from an individual standpoint is he's going, I'll go and dance with the lions and the gorillas in the jungle because I think I can be one as well. And I personally, as like a person, I can respect that because I can go like, look, you're 26, like you're going to give it a go for 2-3 years. If you completely flop, you will know it for the rest of your life. You went and did it in the biggest place possible. Obviously, Liverpool fans believe we're the biggest club in the world, but every single football fan has lost a player to Barca and Madrid because they are just bigger than us.
Yeah.
And that's just factual. Like Ozil went to Madrid. There's just a list. Like, no, Ozil actually went to Arsenal after, but there's just
Me tell you,
but there's just a list of
we're the biggest clown.
You were about to go on such a roll that Nibade, I let you up. I gave you Rude, I gave you Bex, I gave you Ronaldo.
The voice killed me. But nah, but you know, like every team loses a superstar player.
Henri Fabregas, exactly. Yeah, there you go.
And you have to, I think you just have to respect it. And obviously, because Trent's a Scouser, I'm not a Scouser, so that's why people always say, like, I don't get it. But at the same time, I also just go like, I look back at Gerrard's legacy. If Gerrard went to Chelsea, everyone would remember him as the best midfielder to have played in the Premier League. But now it's
I heard, by the way, the Chelsea thing I think is so funny because apparently, I don't remember this at the time, I was too young, but
I know what you're going to say.
One of the reasons he didn't go to Chelsea, no, I was going to say one of the reasons he didn't go to Chelsea was because thugs like were threatening to kill him. And
yeah, it's true. That's exactly what happened in that period. Like, I think there was loads of stories about like people kept rocking up at his house. Bro,
yeah, that's
like,
mad.
I wouldn't be surprised by that. I wouldn't
be surprised about that.
Basically, I read a story. This is a completely different topic, but I'm basically doing an analysis on Carragher, right? And in part of my research, someone broke Carragher's leg, right? It was a Blackburn player, and then Carragher's mates basically ordered a hit on the player that did the tackle, and they were there in the shopping mall about to do this hit, and then Carragher got a call from a coach from Blackburn who used to be at Liverpool and said, "Come on, mate, don't do it," sort of thing. Like, you know, you're going to regret it, blah, blah, blah. And then Carragher then called his mates and said, "Call the hit off." And it's a true story from Carragher.
Yeah. Wait, when you say hit, do you mean just like rough him up? Or...
No, not kill him. Bloody hell. But I mean, like,
hit. Wait, you read that?
But when I'm
What's
saying
a hit, man?
Like, literally GBH. Like,
oh, bro.
Yeah, that's still a hit.
Like, and Carragher has
break his legs, do everything. Just
do a Roy Keane. Just hold a grudge and then do it yourself.
Exactly.
At least Roy had some balls to do it himself. Like, fair play.
Yeah.
This was Man United.
That was nasty.
Best.
Although, to be fair, like back then, like gangster culture in Liverpool was a big thing.
Yeah, good point. Like, I've seen the documentary. Is it Gangs of Liverpool? I think. Like,
yeah. Like, it's
man.
a serious thing. Anyway, let's move on. We keep going. We're going everywhere, man. Honestly, when you're doing that impression as well, I was going, they went to kill him. Then you've gone, they just went to beat him up. I'm like, it's minor, bro. Like, everyone's been beaten once in a while. Anyway, very, very quickly, because I want to talk about a lot of other things still. And also, this will be oldish news by the time it goes out. But Saliba João Pedro might have been the weirdest penalty I've ever seen, because when have you ever seen two guys butt heads and it's given a penalty? Now, what I don't want to talk about, because Arsenal fans I've spoken about is plenty, the world's against Arsenal. I know it is, you know, like injuries and physios are against Arsenal. I know it is. But that's not what I want to talk about. What's your stance on this as a penalty? Because a lot of people are saying, I think they said on Match Today, like, it will never, ever be given again as a penalty, ever. They were saying, like, that's a one-off again.
I haven't watched it, you know.
You haven't seen the Pedro Saliba penalty?
No, I haven't seen anything yet.
Oh, okay, I beg you watch it now, and then we can your live reaction.
Watch it live. Yeah. I'm going to send it to you, bro. I don't know why I'm sending it to you, bro. You can literally type in Saliba João Pedro.
Yeah, let's not talk. Let's wait.
I don't trust these AI things. I want the real thing.
Arsenal fans have populated the timeline with enough videos on it. Don't you worry.
In fact, you know
that.
what? I'm going to send it to you here in slow-mo just so you get it properly, because a lot of people will say, in normal time, yada, yada, yada. I'm sending it to your Twitter right now, and you can watch it live and give us your thoughts.
Coming in this
and then we'll move on. You Beyonce. We need to get it from my phone to this chat. Just, I'm gonna let me send it to you.
Where have you sent it? I didn't say where.
I'm sorry, I've sent it to your Twitter. I thought you were saying put it on this chat, man. I was like, bro, do I work for you?
No, I was just saying.
I'm messing. Go on in.
All right, let's see.
The suspense.
I'm not gonna lie. I think that's a pen.
Wait. Which angle did you see? Because there's no. Because
Wait, let's.
I actually originally I thought it was a penalty, and I'm incredibly biased, but originally I thought it was a penalty. And then there's an angle where Saliba's head actually gets the ball as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's the angle I sent him.
Oh, he's seen it.
Yeah, but on the first watch, you wouldn't be looking out for that, so you wouldn't see it.
Okay.
When you watch it again, the fact that Saliba makes contact with the ball, it's one angle, so I don't know what the other angles look
Let me
like.
widescreen it and let me see how that comes.
He's gonna put it on his TV. We're gonna take us for a
what
tour
I
to the
will
living
say,
room.
This alone means
Okay,
it's not a
yeah,
penalty
yeah.
in my view.
Not a pen.
Like,
No, I changed my mind. Not a pen.
Oh,
there you go. Mad, but
What's
this
that?
alone, can I say, like this clear and obvious stuff, like this alone means it's not a penalty. Like this
but
amount
Dev,
of indecision, you
that's
can't
the
give a penalty
problem.
for that.
Yeah, but that's the problem because the ref gave it on field.
Oh, did he? Okay, fair.
So it's not clear and obvious to overturn it.
Right.
If the ref didn't give it on the field, I promise you, VAR would have not overturned it. The VAR has said we can't say with loads of certainty that is not a penalty. Anthony Taylor's seen that, and we're gonna allow it to happen. All I will say is, as we've said before, every year, so many instances of Arsenal penalties and red cards that you'll never see again. Martinelli twice, when I can't remember who the opposition was, goes to throw it. Martinelli knocks him, and then on the way back makes a tackle. 2 yellow cards in one.
yeah, that was brutal.
We had the clash of heads. We had the Declan Rice kicking the ball away. We had the Trossard kicking away. I'm tired of it, Robbie. But no, it's it partly is just us. We're just a really unique and interesting football team that just decide to do strange things.
Well, to be fair, I mean, we had this delict penalty earlier. I think it's a penalty just because of where his arm is. But like, we had about 3 instances last season and 1 this season where it wasn't given. Like, I just think it's an incompetency, like, or just a problem of interpretation of the rules at the time that they kind of take it game by game, which for me just makes it really difficult. So I kind of I looked at that and I agree like with James. You look at one angle and you kind of think clash of heads, nah. But then you look at the one that Pythag just seen and you're just like, there's no way that could be given. It was just
so
like,
this is where I would defend the ref. Like we had to see angle 69 for us to know that was not a penalty. But on every other angle, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
So I think in real time, obviously this is where people say this is where you should have used VAR. But if the ref at that time thinks it's a pen and believes it's a pen and is sure it's a pen, then it's a pen. Like that's where I'm kind of like,
yeah, it's fair.
Do we take full autonomy away from the referee?
The thing is, this is the thing though, because everyone for like the first 6 months of the season will say, "Oh, we're doing VAR is too intrusive. We're doing too much with VAR." Over the last few weeks, VAR has gone really quiet. I don't know if you've noticed, but VAR actually just hasn't intervened. And now this is the first high-profile example of where people are saying, "Where's VAR?"
They intervened today,
for the first 6 months of the season, people were saying, why is VAR not doing anything? So it's a really sticky one because if VAR disappeared, this is what life would be like, and people wouldn't be happy.
We spoke about this on a separate pod where, like, I think we were saying, do you want VAR? Like, if VAR disappeared tomorrow, would football be better? And so many people voted on Twitter saying, yeah, we don't want VAR, blah, blah, blah. But then literally, I think the next day, there was like, I think Casado made a leg-breaking challenge, and VAR didn't intervene because the ref already gave a yellow, and everyone was like, bro, like, this is a disgrace, blah, blah. And I was like, but this was happening every single week, like, prior to VAR getting involved. I think overall, VAR's helped the game, but now it's just giving people something to blame anytime something happens.
Also, people have this perception that football has to be like refereed perfectly and that every single decision has to be, but the rules aren't perfect either, and the rules will never be perfect because, like we say with the delict handball, how do you make rules
subjective,
that can perfect? Yeah, it's so subjective, and you can say, all right, intentionality. You can say the distance between them. You can say silhouette. But at the end of the day, there's thousands and thousands of different options. Otherwise, they'd just train an AI to do it. If it was completely objective, they'd just get a little like, oh yeah, green light penalty.
Yeah, Sports FC would just be real within the next like 10 years.
Yeah. One quick question before we move on very quickly, and don't need to answer in a long way. But what was Delict's arm doing there? It was so weird. It was like you turned his back, but why did his arm do that?
I agree.
We'll
No,
stop taking it up.
to be very to be very clear, yeah, it's a pen. I said it on Twitter. You can go back to the tweet. It's 100% a pen. But if that's a pen, Romero's is a pen against Garnacho. And then there's too many instances where it was. I think the only thing that people got annoyed about was the proximity of it. Like, it was very close to him, but it was going towards goal. He's volleyballed it and it's a pen, but it's just the inconsistencies that will just drive.
No, my question was just like why and how did his arm end up in that situation?
I wanted to hit him. It pissed me off when I saw that. Like, the most brainless bit of defending. I correct myself. The most brainless piece of defending was when he slid in on Gakpo and the guy with his left foot, right? And we've got so many men in the box. Why are you sliding? Why are you sliding at that moment? And then he just, all I see is De Ligt just going off the screen, and then Gakpo just, oh mate. And I said live on Twitter. I said live because there's a watch along. I said, watch this now. Knowing De Ligt, he's done that stupid thing now on Gakpo. They're going to score, and he always follows it up with another error just after it. Straight after it, he goes and does the handball. Now, the reason why I know that is every time I've watched De Ligt, as soon as he has a good game, 60 minutes will go by or whatever, he's fine. As soon as one error happens, he just loses his head, and then he starts doing really silly stuff. For the Netherlands, we've seen these games where he's fine the first 45 minutes. I remember I was watching the Netherlands game. First 45 minutes, he's playing brilliant. Obviously, I think at the time he was being linked to United or he's just moved. And I was about to write a tweet saying, bloody hell, De Ligt looks amazing. But I thought, let's just hold it on here, right? Go 10 minutes in the second half. He's been done up. They've conceded a goal. And then I think he scored an own goal like 5 minutes later or something like that.
Oh, I remember the game.
I know exactly which game you're on about.
Self-destructing. I think Koeman ended up taking him off. And I thought to myself, flipping out, this guy's got no composure. Like, as soon as something bad happens, his emotional side just takes over and he loses.
He's great.
It's That's a great word. Upamecano on Champions League nights, bro. Like, literally, anytime people are watching him at 8 p.m., that brother starts slipping and sliding all over the shop. He's just got like no emotional control whatsoever.
Someone said he was the only defender to go through the Italian system and just gain no defensive ability.
Leave him alone, man.
So deep. That's so deep.
You know what it is though? Like, you mentioned such a good word there, composure. He doesn't have it, and there's certain defenders who can actually kind of make a bit of a living off being a bit crazy and being a bit mad. Like, Rudiger has composure, but he's a bit nuts. Like Eric Bailly, similar, but like with De Ligt, like there's this. Because of the Rolls Royce craze, everyone wants to link that stupid phrase with a bunch of, in my opinion, the only Rolls Royces you're going to get are the Maldinis or the SIEs or the prop Saliba. It'll get there, but not right now. But you need to have a certain catalogue of like ability for that. De Ligt hasn't got that. And when I see him on the ball, he reminds me of Varane. I don't think Varane was the best on the ball. I thought he was shaky as well. But then you see Yoro come on for him and you're like, jeez. So I think Amorim knows. That's why like De Ligt hasn't really featured a not under him, and I think that's why Yoro is. Amorim's been very smart with how he's integrated Yoro because he's the one. And the Maguire contract extension for me also speaks volumes about what he thinks about De Ligt, which is I like him, but I can understand why.
All right, let's wrap very quickly with one signing your club in January should make and what you think it will help you achieve. James, I'll start with you because I think yours is quite obvious, isn't
it? Are we looking for the position or the specific player?
The specific player.
Okay. You're gonna push me here. I'm gonna say I could say Isak, but let's be sensible. Let's be sensible. Right. Ademola Lookman, I like.
Shout.
He can play both sides, very direct. And we just lack game changers at the moment. Our attack is no one wants to take responsibility for anything. And if you watch Lookman in the Champions League, he's a sort of player. No matter what the game is, he will take the ball and drive at any defense. He's got that kind of Leao fearlessness, and I think that is epitomized when he was at Fulham. And he did a Panenka in the 95th minute of the game, and it absolutely p-rolled into the keeper's hands. But he tried it. And that's the thing. And at the moment, Martinelli's the shell of a player. Trossard will never be that guy. Jesus doesn't have the physicality he used to and still isn't. Havertz needs other people to create chances for him. Saka is our only attacker who really will grab a game by the scruff of the neck and really go at defenders. And at left wing, we need someone desperately. And if they are also able to play on the right side, that is a big bonus. But I think there's absolutely no chance that we'd steal him off Atalanta in January.
Good shout, to be fair. Go on, Dev.
The position's obvious. It's a wing back, and left wing back has probably got to be it, because I think Dallo and Mazraoui can do a shift at least between them. I think it will just depend on how January actually goes for each of their teams of the players I'm going to say. So, one, Alphonso Davies is available on a pre-contract, but with his with his injury record and with how much he's going to want, I don't see that being an Ineos signing. It would be cool, but 24 years old still as well, but like I don't see that happening.
Really?
Yeah, or 26 years old, sorry. But then the other two will depend on how each of their teams do. Milos Kerkez has been linked with us since the Euros. He's grown in stature, but the fee he's going to get, if Bournemouth continue on this right, which I don't see it stopping anytime soon, then it's just going to be too much money, I think, for one position in a Man United shirt. It's going to invite too much pressure on him for that. Like, everyone will know that that's, the key. So I'm not sure about that. But Wolves obviously have had a bit of a resurgence under Pereira. Resurgence, I mean, they beat us, but everyone does except you. But they're playing Forest tomorrow, I think. And if that's the end of the bounce, and if we see Wolves continue to struggle, then Ryan Aït-Nouri would probably have to be one that I would look at, because there's a few Wolves players. I've said Cunha, but he signed a new deal, which is quite surprising. But Joao Gomez, I love.
Just on that topic, I think he signed a new deal to get them more money. To be fair, I think he knows he's leaving, and I think Wolves are a pretty savvy club, and he's pretty well locked in with Jorge Mendes.
Yeah,
and I think this is classic. Like, sign a new deal, we'll get an extra 20 million for you. You keep 5, we keep 15. But anyway, continue.
And he's probably got a relegation clause in there, because I don't think he had one before. Yeah. At least that's what they're saying. But Ryan Aït-Nouri is one I'd love to see. Any of those left wing back options in Jan, like if we can get them in the summer, like at least have something done in Jan, then great.
Anthony Robinson.
I said so
as well, but he's so good.
So I said, so James, I don't think you were on that video, but I said that Anthony Robinson was one of the best in his position in the league, and it was just before he dropped, I think, 2 assists against Liverpool. But I think Anthony Robinson he's at an age where he's reaching his peak, and again, it's that is which way do you kind of go from there? I think he's really, really good, but in terms of what we would need, I just think there needs to be a bit more dynamism in there. So that's why I said Kerkez, because I'm seeing the level of tracking and the running, like it's similar to Robinson, but Robinson can have a clanger and he can drop a couple. Kerkez, I'm yet to see that. And the youth and the athleticism and even the build, I kind of see more of an Amorim player in Kerkez than I do Robinson, but still a really good player, but I'd probably edge to Kerkez over him.
Go on, Pyfag. Which random Dutch league second division player are you going to pull out?
No, I'm actually too mainstream, to be honest. I think Nuno Mendes, as I said, he's interested in playing for United, which rocked me. I was like, why would you be interested in playing for us? But I think because he played under Amorim when he first broke through. When
did he say that?
So we've got that connection there.
Like 3-4 days ago, he said
so if we could get him, that'd be amazing, because my dream left wing backs for United have always been him or Balde of Barca, because I know it's hard to
I'm switching mine to Nuno Mendes. That's
it's hard to get Balde, but I think because Barca are so cash strapped, I just wondered whether if we threw a massive bid for a Balde, the reason why is you mentioned Anthony Robinson. I really like Anthony Robinson, but he's playing in a back 4, I think, right? And as a fullback, if we were just playing a back 4 system, I'd love someone like Anthony Robinson to come in for a couple of seasons. I think he'd be really good. But when you're playing with the wing-back system, one of the issues we've got is we're playing fullbacks at wing-back, which is why we've been struggling against the smaller teams. Now, I know Nuno Mendes is also a fullback, but he's got higher tier ball-carrying ability. If he's in the final third, you can kind of, like Balde, these two guys, you can leave out wide on their own, and they will make something happen one-on-one, right? So we need someone like that. So Mendes, and I don't think this is ever going to happen in January, but I'd love it to happen in the summer, is Kvaratskhelia in the left inside forward position where Bruno's playing at the moment.
Imagine.
That's what I want to see,
Where are you in the league again?
That's what I was going to say, bro. Like,
Napoli
are flaunting like their top 4 team.
No.
Bro, like, we're still Manchester United.
We can always buy anyone. It's just like, we're not going to do anything with them.
Well, it's just a proper
By the
cheat
way-
code. Like one of the best left backs in the
Yeah.
world is just going, yeah, you know what? Like I want to go make like 600 grand a week at Manchester United. So yeah, why not? And I'm like,
Yeah, but they
bro,
can't.
like,
They don't play. They don't pay players like that anymore. So they'll get deadbeat players like Casemiro and Varane.
Not
that
anymore.
No one else wants.
Nah, not
But
anymore.
we
yeah, but
bought those guys
Casemiro's
for
getting paid a
big
wedge.
wages.
He's still getting paid a wedge.
Yeah, so-
350k a week.
We
He's on.
paid 60
Yeah, it
million
was so
for
like-
Casemiro.
Yeah, you got fobbed, bro. The
We
one
did
thing I say
fob.
about we spoke about Florentino Perez before, like he's one of the best businessmen in the world, bro.
Yeah.
Like he been Ramos, Varane, and Casemiro within 18 months, and everyone was like, "What is
Yeah.
he doing?" But do not question this guy. He's a dog, bro. He took Mbappe off Macron. Macron's the flipping president
Yeah.
of the whole country, man. Like this guy's so powerful. Also, I'm gonna throw a name out there that I don't know if Liverpool or Man U would go for him, but I feel like someone will sign Tyrick Mitchell. He's out of contract in the summer.
Yeah.
And he's,
that-
20,
that-
and he's 25. So, like, if you're struggling and you can't get a Milos Kerkez because you're prioritizing other areas, you might go and get like a Tarek Mitchell because he's currently playing. I think he's playing left wing back. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Anyway, I did say at the start to the boys, about 30 minutes, boys, 35. Once I saw the clock, it'd been 15 minutes. We were talking about darts and snooker. I was like, we're going to be here for an hour and 10 minutes minimum. But I hope you guys have enjoyed it, watching or listening. Videos are now available on Spotify. I'm not paid to say that, but one day. But basically, if you don't have time and you're roaming around, you can actually download the videos on Spotify and watch them later now, which is super handy. And obviously, if you're on YouTube, then drop a comment, like, subscribe, all that jazz, and check the boys out as well. But for now, we'll see you on the next one.